All right, guys, welcome to Trust Hope Podcast. I think this is a very special segment today. I thank you guys for tuning in on the first episode with Dr. Steve Wood-Small, and you guys got to see how he break down things and what he thought about a lot of things that's going on. And I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more background of Trust Hope on this second episode. I wanted to give you guys a special episode to show you where Trust Hope came from, my beliefs, and my different things, and actually what I'm trying to achieve with this podcast. I want to bring awareness to the community. You don't have to rap on the mic, or you don't have to dribble a basketball to be successful. It's a lot of working people out here. It's a lot of people changing lives out here, and they're not celebrities or anything. So this podcast is to bring more awareness to the youth and to our community. That is actually working people out here and people out here that's being successful. So I'm trying to give you guys the more tools and more learning things and to hear from other people's views. And this is a very special podcast today because I have my mother, Miss Robynetta McCain, on today. And she's going to give you a background of how me volunteering and Trust Hope podcast came. And she's going to give you a little bit of her beliefs. And so let me introduce you guys to Miss Robynetta McCain, my mother.
Hi, how are y'all doing?
All right, Mom, we're going to start with letting them know your career, some of the things you do, letting them know your background.
Well, I am a McCain. I've been a McCain for 2 years. I just recently got married. I work at the Cypress. I've been there for 18 years as an employee. A CNA. I do home care. I have 3 children. Raekwon, as you know. Faith, she's 12. And Fabiana is 7.
Okay.
And those, between my husband and my children, that's the highlight of my life.
And as you guys may not know, my mom is one of the hardest working people I know. She pushes every day and showed me work ethic. And so we're going to start off the first questionnaires and things to give you guys a background of like how Trust Hope podcast started. And what do you think, Mom? The first thing you had me when you was younger.
Yes, I was a teenage parent. I had Raekwon when I was 14. It's probably one of the biggest obstacles of my life is trying to figure out how to finish school, how to raise him, how not to make the same mistakes that you made before. Finding myself and living through foster homes and having challenges with my family because I knew them but I don't know them. It was all big obstacles, but we got through, and that's how life is, period. You have to figure your way. You can't let your past define who you are. You have to look forward, and that's one of my biggest beliefs. I always taught Raekwon when he learned to play football, the coach would say, if you keep your feet moving, you cannot fall. And I just always kept that in my mind. I said, Ray, if we keep our feet moving and we're constantly moving, we cannot fall.
Yeah, and I remember that you telling me that. And that stuck with me, Mom. In college, them long nights in college and different things, I try to keep my feet moving and keep going, and that stuck with me through a lot. This is one of the reasons why I did start Trust Hope Podcast. And if you could explain to the audience some of your beliefs and volunteering early, having the kids volunteer early, I think that put a lot of emphasis on me being a better person in life, starting with the Cypress, me putting up trees and different things.
Well, a lot of stuff I didn't know because nobody never taught me. So I learned, I was at the Cypress one day at my job, and that's a wealthy place. And when we say wealthy, we're talking about people, you have to have at least $1 million to even move in. And I was working, I asked somebody, I say, what are the kids doing? And they say they volunteering. And I asked another question, I said, I understand that you volunteer and do you like what you do? He said, oh yeah, yes ma'am, I like what I do, but I have to volunteer so many hours to get in college. And I said, dog, you gotta have volunteer hours to get in college. And then, so that's how I learned a little bit as I was going. And so I took what I learned from work and brought it back home. I said, Raquan, we gotta get out here in the community, we gotta help. Also, my foster mom, Annie Ellison, used to work at the, what's the name of that place? The Crisis in Ministry. And sometimes when I would go to work, she would have to keep Raquan, she would take him to work. And we learned from there, like, she was only getting paid half of what she was worth because the other half is like volunteering. And I learned then too, I said, when you give back to the community, then the community grows. When the community grows and then they learn, and you take something back. But then I also learned that was the key. That's how kids get in college. Nobody never taught us that.
Right.
That you need to volunteer. It was one of the first questions they asked us when we got there. It wasn't how much money you got, or wasn't what was your grade point average? Say, where did you volunteer?
Right. And I think it was middle school, 8th grade, when I started doing my volunteer hours, logging volunteer hours and different things. And that pushes me to my next question. What information would you want to give, like, the parents that's listening, that's having kids that's about around middle school age, 8th grade, and they want their kids to start getting involved in different things because there's a lot of things going on in the world, so they want to pass on positivity to their kids?
Well, first and foremost, don't think because I have a good son that I'm perfect and I know all the answers. I was just blessed. I face challenges every day with my 2 girls and still trying to keep Raquan, make sure he stays on the right track. But the best thing that you can do for boys, I know especially, is keeping them busy. Not all boys like sports like Raquan did. Sometimes you have to find other means and way to get them to get things done. But the volunteering is very important because it's teaching them to love others. Not only to love yourself, but take your time out to love somebody else. And a small gesture helps so big, and we don't understand sometimes how much it does help. And the other thing that I would say is, for our teenagers, you have to keep an open mind. We have this thing that I used to call was open floor. When the floor was open, you could cuss, you could say whatever you got to say, get it off your chest. In a lot of African American communities, we didn't have no therapists and no extra money to do this. Nobody taught us these things. That's the things that you learn once you got in the world around other people. But we had to be our own therapist. So that was one of the ways that I let them, I said, okay, the floor is open. And I let them talk. And you are who your friends are. If you want to know who your child is, no matter who they trying to tell you they are, is you need to know who their friends are. You are who your friends are. Birds of the same feather flock together. It is so true.
Right.
And just because you think some friends is not exactly what they should be, doesn't mean that they're not meant to be your child's friend. Now, Raquan had friends, I know they was way, way, way to the left. But the friends that was way to the left were sometimes the ones that helped him to stay out of trouble. When trouble come, they would say, this is my friend. He's going to college, and you better get away from here. So you always just have to pay attention to what your children are saying, what they're doing, and they usually cry for help. A lot of times in our community, we don't know it's a cry because we don't have all the different resources that everybody else have. But you learn from your mistakes. You do something right that worked, then try it again. Do something wrong that don't work. And never be afraid to tell your kids that you made a mistake, that wasn't exactly right.
Right. I think you always did a great job with explaining things and communicating. and that's just for the parents and for the youth. I think it's best to try to communicate with your parents, and that's kind of lost in 2020. I feel like it's more so this is what I told you to do, and you're going to do it. And I think you took another approach in life.
In foster care, that was one of their favorite words. You do what I say because of what I say. Usually when somebody asks you a question, they really want to know why. Not just because you said so.
Right.
So I do try to explain to my kids, even when I'm at my highest upset, this is why I said it. Because if you do this, this might happen. And living a life that I have lived, not knowing what's going to always happen next, it keeps you on the safer side of things. And that's something you try to teach your children. So it's nothing wrong with explaining to them, okay, I need you to wash the dishes. A lot of times we take it as being disrespectful. Why should I wash the dishes? Well, I need you to wash the dishes in order for me to cook, because I've been on my feet for 16 hours working.
Right.
By the time I take a shower, if you had the dishes clean, I can have you a nice meal ready.
Right. Communication.
And, the dishes need to be clean so you'll know when you get older how to wash a dish. How can you take care of your family if nobody never taught you?
Right. And I think that goes all into communication and responsibility with your child to build him and build her a better foundation. And communication goes into a lot. Whenever they get old enough to go to school, they're able to communicate with their teachers. They're able to understand respect. They understand putting things together, and this is why. So that's why I think I went big into mentoring, because my mom showed me the exact way to communicate, to speak to kids, because I remember what she used to do with me. And what a lot of things that I use for mentoring, Mom, that you probably don't know, I use a lot from you. Mm-hmm. And I know I went to school for psychology and different things, but sometimes if it's not working, sometimes I put those things aside and go straight to what you used to do with me. I think those are great things. And so that's a leeway segment to when I say leadership, what do you think about the word leadership? And now I know I asked Mr. Woodsmall that, so I wanted to get your definition of leadership from my mother.
Leadership is very important, and everybody is not meant to lead. When you take a leadership, you have to take a step back and look at yourself in the mirror and figure out where you're leading your team. I don't think a lot of people take leadership very important, but it is. When you become a leader, they watching your every move. When you first started this podcast, I said, are you sure you want to do this? Right. Have you checked all of this?
Right.
Are you ready to present yourself to the world? Because once you present yourself to the world, you can't take it back. You are who you are. And leadership is very important. When you're leading a group of people, you have to make sure that you're teaching them what's right. And what's right and wrong, is no gray area in there. It's either right or it's wrong. There's no in between.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of leaders mess up. They don't think about right and wrong. They don't think about, did I pay? I mean, if you're getting paid $40 for this job, are you going to get away with giving somebody $5 for the same job that you're getting paid $40 for? So leadership is important. We have leaders at work. We have leaders that lead our world. Shoot, as parents, we are leaders. We lead our whole families.
Right.
Sometimes you question yourself. But leadership is very important, and people have to take it more serious.
Right. I think one of them